I thought today's Senate hearing where FBI Director Kash Patel got absolutely grilled is a great example of how sometimes a cacistocracy comes back to bite a tyrant right in the butt. Now, let's not forget that a cacistocracy is a government where the least qualified, most incompetent people are in charge. And nut job conspiracy theory podcaster Kash Patel is running the Federal Bureau of Investigation for the United States of America. So, prime example. Trump's goal when staffing his government this time around was to prioritize loyalty above all. It doesn't matter how poorly qualified you are. It doesn't matter how much of an incompetent boob you are. If you are loyal to Trump and you will do any craven thing he demands of you, boom, he's going to staff you. Because there were people during his first term in office that did stand up to him and prevented him from doing some really terrible things. And he wanted just like a clear runway this time to do whatever he wants. That's why Pete Whiskey Leaks Hegseth, a Fox News host, is in charge of the Department of Defense. That's why a conspiracy theory podcaster is in charge of the FBI. That's why RFK Jr. is in charge of the public health of 340 million Americans. Now, there is the added benefit for a tyrant like Donald Trump that when you have a cacistocracy and you have people who don't know what the fuck they're doing, that they will wreck the government. They will make things so chaotic that it's much easier for the tyrant to seize control because people are caught up in all of this chaos of the normal procedures and functioning of the government just being completely crippled by all of these folks who are just completely I'm trying not to use the phrase incompetent boobs over and over again, but that is kind of the best descriptor. They are incompetent boobs. So Kash Patel is in way over his head. And I think we really saw that in the Senate hearing today, in particular in two different areas. One is the handling of the case of alleged Charlie Kirk shooter Tyler Robinson. And the second is, of course, the Epstein files. Now, Kash Patel in his podcast and in interviews, like his whole thing was about releasing the Epstein files. He said that was one of the reasons he wanted to become FBI director was to get the Epstein files released. Because, he really thought the list was going to be all Democrats. It was going to be like, Bill and Hillary Clinton, a bunch of Democratic politicians, and then a bunch of, like celebrities and super rich folks who donate to Democratic causes. I don't know why it never occurred to him that it might be his boss, Jeffrey Epstein's best friend, or why there might possibly be Republicans on that list. Now, real quick, let's address the fact that he's not qualified to run any investigation. He's completely ill-qualified for his job in every respect, but specifically when it comes to the Charlie Kirk shooter investigation. He's bungled it from the get-go multiple times over. Right, we're not talking about his really cringy statement where he was like, Charlie Kirk, espoused Christian, I'll see you in Valhalla. Right, it's not really the lack of professionalism that he's shown, it's the fact that he has no training and background in law enforcement that would equip him in any way to run large investigations or to be in charge of the Federal Bureau of Investigation for the United States of America. I understand we're talking about a cacistocracy here, but to me, when I look at some of these individuals in Trump's government, it's just so overwhelming to me how they are complete buffoons and how anybody from MAGA could be excited about them being put in these positions of tremendous power and influence. There are serious consequences when you have people who are entirely inept in charge of programs, in charge of entire government departments that oversee a nation of 340 million people. So Kash Patel had to answer some questions for the Senate today. And I completely agree with the Hill's reporting on this. They said that Kash Patel struck a combative tone, and that's absolutely right. Very similar to RFK Jr. and his recent day in front of the Senate, where he was very smug and condescending and basically being like, you can't fucking touch me. Kash got into shouting matches with multiple United States senators today, including this very memorable one between him and Senator Cory Booker.
You can't lecture me.
You can tell me my time's over.
You may be the target of the
I'm not
FBI,
going anywhere.
but I am not afraid of you.
Mr. Chairman.
I'm not afraid of you. This may be the last time I have a hearing with you because I don't think you're long for your job. But I'm going to tell you this. I pray for you. I pray for you that you can step up and defend your oath, defend the Constitution, and do a much better job of defending this country.
Sorry, the sound is riding the struggle bus a little bit there in terms of synchronization, but you understand what he's saying. Whatever, Cory Booker, why are you praying for Kash Patel? You were right on one area, though. I don't think he is long for his job. The full quote of what Cory Booker said is, "Mr. Patel, I think you're not going to be around long. I think this might be your last full oversight hearing, because as much as you supplicate yourself to the will of Donald Trump and not to the Constitution of the United States of America, Donald Trump has shown us in his first term and in this term, he is not loyal to people like you, and he will cut you loose." It's accurate. That's an accurate description of Donald Trump's behavior. He doesn't have loyalty to fucking anybody. It's all the loyalty directed at him, and he will throw anybody under the bus if it serves his purpose. Now, we know that the FBI is experiencing a tremendous amount of chaos right now because Kash Patel fired several top agents. They fired a whole lot of people from the FBI. Again, a tyrant like Donald Trump wants to render the government non-functional. Would-be autocrats are trying to manufacture problems so they can say that they're swooping in to fix it. They also try to destroy democratic norms and make it impossible for a government to function and conduct business as usual on behalf of the American people. During these interviews today, Kash Patel refused to answer how many FBI agents have been fired, but he did say it would take 14 years to onboard every vacancy that's on the books. 20% of America's FBI agents have been relegated to low-level immigration enforcement jobs. An entire task force have been disbanded. Senator Booker asked Kash Patel, who benefits from this? Certainly not the American people. Kash was also grilled about the fact that apparently FBI agents are being subjected to polygraph tests and being asked about their political persuasions. And again, I think the posture that we're seeing here for members of the Trump regime who are wholly unqualified and are fucking everything up is that they're just going to be really combative. They're going to take a play from Donald Trump's book, which is that they are just going to, say whatever they want, whether or not it's factual, even if they're under oath, and they're just going to be real aggressive and real threatening. And it's not just confined to these Senate hearings. We've also seen Kash Patel get into it with senators over Twitter. Right, Senator Dick Durbin, who is the ranking member on the Judiciary Committee, tweeted at Patel after he fired agents who Durbin said were, quote, all more competent than Kash was. Even before the hearing today, Patel shot back on Twitter, "If you're going to come at me, use facts. All you have is disinformation and lies." That's not true. "I'll see you prime time in front of the world. America deserves a better brand of justice, and I'm giving it to them." And then he responded, "Bring it." I'm sorry, y'all, that we are really living in the cringiest timeline. Fascism is so cringy. Who knew? Actually, I think anybody who's studied fascism throughout history knows that these movements are just so fucking cringy, especially because you're putting wholly unqualified people. It's all about the spectacle. It's all about their loyalty to dear leader. It's all about the fact that they are full of bluster and aggression, threats, intimidation, and are wholly unqualified and not particularly intelligent or witty. These are people who do not know what they are doing, but they know they will do anything dear leader asks of them. They have to compensate for their ignorance and buffoonery with these big displays of aggression, the spectacle that they create, because they don't have any capability to govern or to run departments for the United States government. They are completely unqualified. Now, I want to come back in the next video and talk about what Kash Patel said today in this hearing about the Epstein files, because I think that's the real zinger. That's the thing the American people, including the MAGA base, are not going to let go of. But overall, I think the more we watch these members of Trump's regime speak in front of the Senate, and we all should be watching, we should be paying attention. The longer they spend in these positions and the more we see how they don't know what the fuck they're doing, the more they know it as well. The more they realize they are in over their heads, and the more they realize the American people are bearing witness to that fact. And so we see this big overcompensation in terms of their outlandish and aggressive behavior. But I think that the more they run this country into the ground, the more the American people are getting real fucking fed up with it. And the more it will come back to bite Donald Trump in the butt. Because at the end of the day, he appointed these people. These are his trusted advisors. These are the people that he thinks can do the job better than anybody. And it reflects on him. It reflects on the fact that he is not a qualified leader. He obviously has no intention of legitimately governing this country, or he would not have put these complete boobs in these positions. So come back for the next video, because I want to talk about what Kash Patel said about the Epstein files, because it's a real doozy.